Good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are joining us, and welcome to a fresh edition of 1847 Liberty. Today, we take a look at um, events happening in Liberia, trending stories. We look at we review top stories from the past week. So we will get right in. Okay, we begin with this story. A group of a group of young a group of young Liberians rallied at the Capitol building in Monrovia on Tuesday to protest against a bill that would add 14 new electoral districts and expand the national legislature. Organized by the Youth Alliance for Responsive Governance, the demonstrators voiced concerns that the expansion would put further strain on taxpayers at a time when widespread economic hardship and high unemployment. Protesters accused lawmakers of prioritizing personal interests over national needs and called on the Senate to reject the bill in favor of job creation and economic reforms. They also demanded lower legislative salaries and stronger oversight of government spending. Despite challenges in delivering their petition, organizers say their campaign for accountability and economic opportunity will continue. We will have more updates as this story develops. Also coming up in Monrovia, the National Security Agency has suspended a senior official, Peter Bonjala, after allegations surfaced that he and two unidentified men sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy in December. The case has sparked public outrage and renewed concerns about misconduct within Liberia's security sector. Authorities say Jala was arrested following a police report by the victim's family. An investigation is ongoing, but so far, neither the NSA nor the police has released a public statement. Civil society and human rights organizations have expressed concerns about transparency and the potential for preferential treatment for those in power. However, advocates note that confidentiality is required in cases involving minors. Jala, a long-serving NSA employee, remains suspended as the investigation continues. The outcome of this case is widely seen as a test of the government's commitment to accountability and reform within the security sector. All allegations remain unproven pending judicial proceedings. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. And welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA. Okay, and in tonight's top story, the Liberian National Police has officially cleared Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Bryant McGill, of all wrongdoing following an extensive investigation into an alleged rape case. Police say a months-long probe used advanced forensic methods, digital evidence, and DNA testing in collaboration with international partners. Investigators found no credible evidence against McGill, and his DNA did not match material recovered from the complainant. Telecommunications and GPS data confirmed McGill was not at the scene during the alleged incident. The case, which brought in intense public scrutiny since since late 2025, is now formally closed unless new evidence emerges. Authorities emphasize that their ongoing commitment to justice and they emphasize their ongoing commitment to justice and urge anyone with information to come forward. Deputy Minister McGill's reputation is now restored after being fully exonerated by the investigation. Um, in other news, Liberia's Vice President Jeremiah Cohn says job creation remains a top challenge during nearly 2 years into President Joseph Boakar's administration. Despite an increased national budget of over $1.2 billion, Kuhn admits progress on employment has been slow due to economic hurdles. He says government initiatives will take time to show results. The vice president reaffirmed the administration's commitment to the arrest agenda, which aims to build a resilient economy and restore public trust. He praised opposition lawmakers for holding the government accountable and called for unity, discipline, and humility among ruling party members. Highlighting the Senate's passage of Liberia's first $1.2 billion budget, Kuhn urged lawmakers to collaborate across party lines and put the country's interests first. He says political diversity should be seen as a strength and emphasize the responsibility to deliver real results for the Liberian people. Also reaching our decks tonight, the Liberia Football Association LFA has launched an investigation into allegations of match fixing and bribery during the 2025-2026 National County Sports Meet following a suspicious goalless quarterfinal draw between Margibi County and Grand Cru. The match was notable for its lack of shots on target and fouls, prompting suspicions amongst observers. Margibi County Captain James Barr publicly admitted that players were instructed to play for a goalless draw to ensure both teams advanced, and that bribes of an unspecified amount were paid. In response, the LFA has provisionally suspended 3 individuals, including Barr, pending further investigation. The scandal has threatened the credibility of the tournament, which is an important symbol of national unity, and the LFA has promised severe sanctions if the allegations are confirmed.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. And welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA.
Now, joining us tonight to discuss some of the issues arising from these headlines are long time. Mr. King, can I see you? Okay, there he is. Okay, so joining us tonight to shed light on some of the issues coming out of our headlines are Liberty Senior Criminal Justice and Law Enforcement commentator Charles E. King, and also making her debut experience, professional development coach and artificial intelligence expert, Madam Enid Maid Jones King.
I'm frozen. She's
I'm
frozen.
sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry.
frozen.
Oh, her screen is frozen.
My
Okay, we
frozen.
have.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to 18.
Okay, Mr. King, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
sir. Okay, I was struggling to see you. I think your camera is kind of
Yes,
bugging
I know.
all the way
I was,
now,
yes,
so
sir. I was trying to
okay,
adjust it.
perfect, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We
Mrs. King
uh,
also is trying to log back in again.
yeah, Madam King is also having some technical difficulties. We hope she can get back. But before that, let's take this.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA.
Is Mrs. King back now? Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA.
Okay, Madam King is back, but we still cannot get visual. But while we wait for Mrs. King, Mr. King,
Yes.
what's your take on this new bill that our young people are protesting against? Do you
Well,
think it's necessary for Liberia to add an additional 14 new seats in an already crowded legislative body that people uh, complain that they're not even doing what they are hired to be doing? What's your take?
my main concern, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My main concern is the process in which the youth are using. Okay? Because my concern is, are they fully aware? Do they know the legislative processes that are involved? Rather than just coming out and say they don't agree with adding certain seats, I want to understand that, have they gone into the legislative hearing? Have they gone in to participate in this process in whichever time it becomes necessary? This is why understanding of civics and their responsibility is important.
I think he has to bring me in, telling me I'm backstage.
Mrs. King is backstage.
Okay, there you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay. All right. Sorry about
Mm.
that. Mrs. King, we still cannot see your image. Please turn your camera on.
She's
I'm
coming.
trying.
She's
I'm trying
coming.
to. I'm trying to, but it keeps. It's not allowing me. Can you
Okay.
check on your end?
On my end, everything looks clean. Yep.
Okay, let
So
me try
the,
again.
the
For
camera
some
can only
reason.
be controlled from your end and not on my side.
Okay, let me.
Maybe you can go out and come back again.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
go out and come
Yes,
back in.
probably. That's a good one.
So
Yes.
as I was saying,
Yes,
um,
sir.
I'm just concerned if the members of this organization has obtained all the necessary instructions on how to participate in,
Mm-hmm.
while they are in session or at a particular time, and I'm purposely withholding any information about how it's done. I want them to be able to go in and find
Mm-hmm.
out how it is done rather than come out to come and protest. You see, when you come and say, they only say, have they said why in details that they object, Do they give any other recommendations? Do they give any other type of evidence to show that the members of the legislature are not prioritizing the government? The people's
Interest.
requirement. You see, they don't do this. Just come out and make a little statement, but you have to come up with information to present to the members of the legislature in the proper forum. Not wait until it's being done, then you come to protest. There has to be an understanding about how and when one does this. And for them to understand this process, they should have found a lawyer in the community who can give them advice on how to do this. So my concern is the lack of their fully understanding of how this process can be done so that the legislative members can hear their stories, can hear their explanation. But do they have a lawyer? It doesn't appear that they do. They have pro bono lawyers in Liberia. I don't see anything here towards that. So let them go and consult these legal professionals to give them the proper advice. This is my only concern here. I'm not into politics, but I'm into the processes that something can be done. That's what I'm concerned about. And some of the legal-minded people out there who see this, they should jump in and offer their services to these young people instead of waiting for them to get in trouble and then all of a sudden the lawyers show up. You see, I want
Yes.
proactive. These young people may not, I don't know if I said they may not have the knowledge of true civics and how the legislative process works. What examples have they had? They may not have had enough examples. Get out there and help these young people instead of letting them come in and going through stages that may not have been necessary. That's my concern. So if people are out there hearing this, they should mention this to these young people. Look for lawyers, look for people with legal reasoning and experience to guide them. How can we go in and be part of this process? Let them learn how bills are passed in the House of Representatives. Don't listen to someone who's another senator or representative. Go to someone who can tell you the real information.
Yeah, so I agree with you because the first step would be to understand the reasons why before rushing to conclusion that it is not necessary to add new seats. First, you have to understand what are the threshold that need to be met in order to increase or decrease the number of seats in the legislature. So your point is valid. Young people first need to understand the legislative process, the reason why the legislature are doing what they're doing. Without full knowledge and understanding of the process, and just rushing to protest, I think is pointless.
Maybe
We have to
Mr. King,
understand. We have to understand everything before agitating against what we see happening.
maybe
Mrs. King,
Mrs. King
you
may
have
have to.
any input on this story?
On the I think Mr. King said a lot. I think one of the issues that we find is that people put out information without explanation. When you put out that they need to expand the legislature for a country that has problems with education, comprehension due to the war, every time you put out information, it's not an insult to anybody. Even myself here, when I'm researching, I actually ask AI to explain something to me like I'm a 10-year-old so that I really understand what is being said, especially if it's outside of my purview or my educational framework. If I'm trying to understand something that's technical, I want to be explained to as 10 years old. I am not a technical person. So what so therefore no insult to anyone, but the Liberian government must function realistically. The war crippled our educational system. There's a large sector of people who did not get formal education for years. The illiteracy rate in Liberia is high. That is a fact. So when you put out something like the need to add to the legislature, put out an explanation with it. Why? Why is it necessary? The purpose and the end goal, so that the people have all of the information they need. So when they do go protest, they know exactly what they're protesting. Or it may prevent the protest because they will understand from which the government comes. But you just put out information into a society without explanation. So part of it bears on the government.
So there are two sides. The youth are not informed about what's going on, and the government, too, did not work hard to make the information available for the youth. Is that correct?
Exactly. Not just
Yeah.
the youth, the Liberian population. As much
Yes.
as we want to try to make or to leave our head buried in the sand, 14 years of war is a long time. There is a huge population. I would say anybody between the age of 20 to 40 something that is struggling because their schooling was cut off. Some of them didn't have the opportunity to go to school. So it's no blame here. It's just our reality. And until we start to live in our reality, Liberia will continue to have problems.
Okay. So let's look at Mr. King. Any more comments on that topic? So okay, we go on to the next one.
No, not at all.
We go on to Mr. Vice President. Uh, the Vice President. Okay, let's look at a story where the Vice President is admitting the challenges that the government is facing in delivering on its job creation promise. So the question is, what do you think are the main obstacles, some of the main obstacles to job creation in Liberia, despite our new national budget that is around, that has been increased to $1.2 billion?
$1.2 billion.
That's the projected amount. We don't know how realistic, that is, but at least that's what we know.
But that budget is not just on job creation, it's the
Yeah.
entire budget.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take into consideration that it's the entire budget. When my husband asked me if I was willing to have a conversation here, I did some quick research. In my research and in everything that I learned about the possibility of what we can do. Right now, I'm sorry to say, but the government does not have enough money put into this sector. $1.2 billion can really be just for employment over a 3 to 5 year period. So there are several things that need to be done. One, we even in the developed world, so I'm sorry to use that phrase, but even in the Western world, let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
In the Western world, we are struggling with skilled employment or skilled workers,
Mm-hmm.
partly because there was a push and a movement for everyone to go to college. Now, I am not saying everyone should not have the opportunity to go to college. What I'm saying is that it is not some people's desire. Some people, not because they are not intelligent or capable. Some people like to, some people like the technical aspects of things. Some people like to use the hands. Some people like me, I have formal education, but at a very young age, back in Liberia, they used to have a sewing school. My mother convinced the lady who ran the high level class to allow me in there at age 12. So I learned to sew. And I tell you, sewing is my release. It's when I am most creative because I can zone in and and my brain works faster. So I say all that to say that we need to we need to move the stigma of skilled labor because at this rate, given the problems that we inherited after the war, we need skilled laborers. So we need to start first. The infrastructure, think about it. If you spend 6 to 12 months training 50 people as electrician, another 50 people as plumbers, another 50 people as painters, paying us above the minimum wage. I don't know what the minimum wage in Liberia is, but let me guess and say paying them $5 to $6 an hour. You took those people and you took them to the University of Liberia. Within 6 months, do you know what the University of Liberia will look like? Not only have you improved the infrastructure of the university, but you have given people jobs. You have also guaranteed people are able to feed their family.
Once they graduate. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
Mm-hmm.
can move from there and start their own business, or they can go and find employment in whatever private sector or government sector that we produce. The issues, some of the issues with Liberia is that we do not have skilled workers and we need skilled workers. We can move on to those same people working to improve the entire sanitary system of Monrovia. You move up and take them up to some of the counties and a high employment rate in Grand Crew or Maryland and have those people working on sanitation, building those. They is he out?
No, he should be. You're still broadcasting. Go ahead.
So building those things. Then once you have that going, those people can also move to all of the governmental agency, rewiring those agency, putting in electrical lights, replumbing the entire system so that we can manage the influx and a heavy load of people who are living in Monrovia. And sometimes I wonder why the Liberian government is not thinking about these little things. The Liberian government cannot have enough jobs in any ministry for the amount of people in Liberia. So become creative, become innovative. Then we can move on to, once we get the infrastructure, we move on to the sanitation. Then the third pillar that we can think about is health. We need to train more. In America, we call it CNAs. We need to train more CNAs. We also need to train more people who are public health workers. Those people can move on to the different counties. They are not there to diagnose. What they are there to do is more triage. As public health workers, they can look at the situation and determine what is needed to better the health in that area as the government work to improve and get more doctors. But when you have a CNA can show people how to handle wounds, just simple wounds that can get infected if you are not treating it right. On you know they One of the things I used to laugh about, and me and my husband still laugh about it, is that in Liberia, as soon as you have a high fever, we bundle the baby up, and we mistake the fact that malaria brings chill. You bundle up because you feel cold. But if you don't have malaria, if that baby doesn't have malaria, that high fever is a symptom of another illness. By bundling that baby out, you increase the temperature, you increase the heat in the brain, which could lead to the baby, unfortunately, unaliving the baby or making the situation worse. I remember growing up in Liberia. God bless Mr. Bleedy. Well, Mr. Bleedy will come on the television and in Liberian colloquial language actually explain public health that cut down cholera in Liberia. In fact, it might have even eradicated cholera in Liberia during the 70s. Why aren't we doing these things? Every Liberian walks around with a cell phone. Public service announcement on that cell phone. Use the cell phone to educate people. You can use the cell phone. You have a whole diaspora conference.
That's for a conference. Yep.
You met people like me. Some of us may never go back to Liberia to work, but we are willing to spend an evening. A mathematician, a Liberian mathematician, may be willing to spend an evening on us on WhatsApp explaining to the Liberian children in school algebra, trigonometry. Those are the things that the Liberian government needs to be more innovative about. So, therefore, we go back to training. You get a Liberian who's an AFAC person. He can come on WhatsApp and show people how to fix air condition through the vocational school. Why is Liberian? What is happening with what is it called? Boko
Washington Institute, BWI.
I have no idea what's happening to it, but expand it. But in Monrovia itself, build more workforce development centers where people are getting practical training. Another thing that we do is women. Women are half the population of Liberia. When you do not open more avenues for women and girls to be able to, and again, I don't want to hear nobody say, oh, that woman is in America and she's talking about independent woman. No. I am talking about self-sustaining. The war was detrimental. More men died during the war than women. What that did was it left a lot of women widows, a lot of women widows, and a lot of women with children to support that have no means of making a living. So women should not be kept out of whatever campaign the government has. Because when you make women and put women and girls in a situation where they can provide for themselves, you limit abuse on the most vulnerable population, women and children. You also help them where they are not put in a situation of, if I don't do this, I cannot eat. Or if I don't do this, my family cannot eat. You take away that. You give people back their dignity. And nobody must start writing you and say, oh, that woman in America, she talking about independent. No, I'm talking about self-sustaining citizens. That is what I'm talking about. So, you know, again, we have to start to get creative when we're talking about employment, education, and moving Liberia forward. Until we do, Liberia will continue to be where it is. And,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, fear
Yes.
Liberians in Liberia needs to also get over the fear that everybody wants to go to Liberia to take your job. I'm sorry. Majority of us don't. But we are willing to give our time to Liberia. I don't want nobody job. I ain't coming for nobody job because you know what? I got a life. Unfortunately, I wish that life had been in Liberia. But hey, we cannot control fate, we cannot control destiny. So get over yourselves. Some of us are willing to take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, come train and come back to our lives. So we need to be more cooperative. We and it boils down to really Liberia has to be the vice president. I would suggest to him, and I don't know if he may have, but I would suggest that he forms a workforce coalition. That workforce coalition, it should be made up of people who actually understand workforce. Not necessarily from the labor department, but a representative from the labor department. Also, reach out to the people in the diaspora who want to sit on that commission. But also, the commission must not be just talk. People must do work. Whatever comes out of that commission must be put into practice within 6 months. That's some of the thing I tell my husband when he said, "Oh, let's do them." Like, look, Liberian people just talk, 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 talk all the time. Nothing,
Yes. Yes. It's all
nothing.
about talk and your concerns and most of the input you have can I mirror that to one of the people that I follow, an African philosopher from Zimbabwe, Joshua Maponga. He said, in order for Africa to develop, to rise up from its current, status, the youth, the people that are going to school, need to first assess their community and see what's going on, what's
Yeah.
wrong. Look at all the problems. Then, based on those problems, go to school and find the necessary areas to concentrate so that they can acquire knowledge, get some ideas to come back into the community and solve those problems. But
Yes.
if you look at our system today, we're not doing the simplest things, the simple things first, but we're thinking about complicated, grandeur, ideas. Everybody wants to go to school and get 2 master's degree in business and politics. People bragging about 3 masters,
A lawyer.
PhD, but they're not doing anything. The practical aspect, like you talk about trades built a country. Even in the great United States that we live in today, it's all about trades, handiwork. The handy people make the most money. Yes. Some people have master's degree. They don't even make 50K a year. Some people
Yes.
are just laborers with some construction companies, and they make close to 80 grand a year.
Oh yes.
And these are the people that built the country. We need to
Yes.
invest more in the carpenters, the electricians, and all these basic things. We need to invest in them. And we're investing in these trades. We will not be complaining about job creation.
I
No.
would like to add. I would
Yeah,
like to add something
yeah,
to
yeah.
what Mrs. King was saying. I would like to add something.
Hmm.
When the vice president, if he follows these recommendations in that committee, what he should do is, as she mentioned, contact people in the diaspora. She mentioned it, so I'm just going over it. But
Yes,
people who can tell him straight talk
Who?
instead of
Yes.
beating around the bush
Push
and
people
telling him
who.
what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
You
People
see,
who
we can tell
jobs.
him
Hmm.
what
hmm,
the situation is because we don't need nothing from him.
Yes.
And
and
he
that and
himself
mhm,
must be open to ideas and
yes,
open to want to do something better. When I was in back home, I employed 300 plus security young men and women in the security profession, and I was growing up to about 1,000 before the war started and damaged and stopped everything that I had going. I educated and trained the officers, not just to do guard work. Take your baton, put on your uniform. No, my officers had to be strict and professional. I trained them so that they can operate anywhere in the world. And some of them are over here in America. Mr. King met one of them, and two of them. They're over here in America. They're working in professional organizations. Some of them have grown up from the security into the medical field, from the discipline. So you train, and that's why I kept quiet because she's into the workforce development, the training in the medical group as well. She has
yes,
more expertise. So
yes,
that man and people should contact people from the, and we don't have to go home. We can do it. People have operated in Germany to America on the operating table, brain surgery, and other
using robotics,
experiments.
advanced robotics. Yeah. Hmm.
What do you think we can do? We can do the same thing here, but the Liberian people who are in positions of authority, they are afraid to ask for assistance from their fellow Liberians from abroad because the people will think that they don't know nothing. Unfortunately for them, that's how people advance by collaborating with other people in other parts of the world and getting knowledges and knowledge. I'm sorry, getting knowledge and improving themselves. They don't just stay in their one format.
Yeah,
And
But
it's
just
about
a
opening up. I'll
let
come to you
me,
quickly. It's
yeah,
about opening up, right? So one of the challenges that people in government, they're too partisan, So
lot.
they surround themselves with sycophants and praise singers,
yeah,
and that's the reason why we don't have the best, and leading us. We don't have the brightest minds leading the country, and that's where we struggle. So if you have the best minds leading us, then all of these simple ideas will be taken into consideration, right? And if you open up your cycle, listen to people like what we are saying now. Listen to people that you're not comfortable listening to,
yeah,
because that's where the ideas come from. The people that are right around you, your immediate advisors, they're only trying to sustain their employment by praising you all day. And we see that in the government. We see a whole group of people that were on social media criticizing the previous regime. Once this current regime took seat, and took power, the entire group that
yeah,
were, promoting them are in government right now. The question about qualification is yet to be answered. What are some
Yeah.
of the people are even qualified for the positions that they're in right now? So until we come out of that mindset that the government is not just a place for work, that Madam Mrs. King was saying, the government alone does not even hire, I would say, 500,000 people. They do not have 500,000 people on their budget. So when we talk about employment and salary increment in Liberia, they're only focusing on the civil servants. But the
hmm,
civil servants, they don't make up, even 5% of the population.
Yeah.
rest of the 95% or even more, how do they get employment?
Has
How do they,
nothing yet because there's no private sector also.
there you go.
You
Yeah.
see, there's no private sector. But another thing, and Mr. King talk about is entrepreneurship. But here's the thing though. The government has to be the first, like, in America you have the small business bureau, the women's small business bureau. All of those entities learn money to a group that has the hardest chances of getting bank loans. And we need to encourage and get more people into entrepreneurship, but not just give people money and say, go out there now and start a business, but then develop a whole training program where they go through this training program, understand P&L, understand profit margin,
Yeah.
understand cash flow expenses, understand all of that. And it's simple because you can use, again, layman English to explain to people that as a plumber, when you go to do a job, you first must get a certain percentage from that person. Then you take that money and you go and buy whatever you need. But keep in mind that when you take that money and go buy something, if you have employees, you also have to pay those people. So you have to understand your cash flow. How are you managing all of that? Once they go through that program, then you give them money. But in the meantime, too, you also provide jobs for people who become mentors to these people. Or again, you go out to the desperate. You go out and find people. And I will keep saying it. Every Liberian doesn't want to come to take people's jobs, but there are Liberians who will do anything for Liberia. So you spend an evening on WhatsApp talking to 10 people. This is how I run my business. This is what I do. This is how I understand it. And therefore, you safeguard, as the government, you safeguard your money because you're not going to lose your money if the person is successful. They will be able to pay you back. These are all the little things the small things that will make a difference. But we Liberians, everything has to be thought about at 360 degrees high. We always focus on the big picture and not the little picture. That's more effective when you take one little step, two little step, three little step, four little step. No, we all want wear suit and tie and strive across the stage.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that to rebuild a country that was totally destroyed.
Totally destroyed. Yep. Yep. The tie and the suits won't build it. A bloated government having a finance ministry so big and ineffective. Like all those government ministries, people are just going like, that's not how you develop a country. You have to create the enabling environment so that small businesses can thrive. And as you said, train people, provide training on basic accounting, project management.
Yes.
Basic accounting. Give these people the little training. You don't have to go to AMEU or UL and get a big degree. A lot of people are getting degrees in accounting and management, but how many banks? And everybody looking, they get the accounting degree, they want to work in a bank, they want to wear a tie and sit in one of those cubicles because it looks cool. But how much are they paying? With the accounting degree, you can use that to start your own business.
Or you can use that person to be the financial mentor to the small business people that you learn money to. So therefore, You've hired another person, and you are building 3 or 4 different small business that is not employed by the government of Liberia.
Yes, yes. Just provide macro loans. Yeah.
Yes, micro
Empower people
loans.
through loans because the commercial banks are not giving money out to the ordinary people, the small
People,
business owners. So why
exactly.
can the government step in?
Step in.
To provide
And,
micro loans,
yeah,
create a credit union.
yes,
Like
and
in the U.S. they have federal credit union. Banks in Liberia you have national credit union. You can do it whatever way that suit the Liberian setting, but empower people. Once you empower people, it is the people that built the country, not the government. A lot of people want to see these fancy countries that we live in, Western countries. The thing is, the government are just taking the money and putting this other farm building down. They ought to no, it's a private sector. Yeah, because that environment is there. The government create that environment so that the private sector can thrive.
Now,
Can provide security. That's what Mr. King always talk about security, so that people feel safe. A functioning justice system, so that people know that when somebody steals from them, they are not going with impunity. Something will be done. There will be
let's
accountability. Yeah,
let's
Mr. King. Yeah.
well, I want to add to Mr. Sacco and Mrs. King.
Mm-hmm.
Here we can also look at the streets in Monrovia. When you look at the streets in Monrovia, look at the sand on the side of the center barriers. Those things should be clean. You have areas of work that is needed. Clean the streets. In the morning, you get up and you set up a program. Again, this is what Mrs. King was talking about. Those in, I think you mentioned sanitation. That's part of sanitation
Yeah.
right there. And you know what? The people here in America and different places, they make millions of dollars out of garbage. Go pick up so much garbage and money.
Yes.
You see? So the streets, look at the streets in Monrovia. They're not clean. Look at the paper and all that. The sand on the roadways. So you're supposed to sweep those streets. You can set up something. It can be done. But as
Yeah.
you've mentioned here, you want to wait
Yeah.
for $100,000 project to develop first before you set up the work to be done. Waste
Yeah.
of time.
You don't have to do that. Look at finance. Look at all those people that are working at finance ministry. I like to do finance. Give example of finance because one of the biggest places, that a lot of people just sit there. And from my own experience, when I was in Liberia, I go to some offices at the finance ministry. There are people sitting in their offices. It's so cozy. The couches that they're not easy, and they have cable TV in the waiting room, and they have refresh, and they just sit there. And these people are wearing extravagant clothing, like they're wearing gold chains, and they just go, and you don't know what they're doing there. So why don't you downsize that ministry, those bloated, government ministries, take away some of the funding, create, like you're saying, a sanitation company that will let people work. You take up the suit and clean up the country. You have all the educated people in the country. You have all these people in government dressing so nicely, but the streets are dirty. The city is filthy. But now, like Matt and Mrs. King was saying, we want to do the complicated things first. We're not looking at the simple ones, right? The first steps. Now, we have our city looking so dirty, the entire country. Instead of us redirecting some funds and cleaning the city and making the country look good for visitors to be attracted, no, we take another funding again and open a new agency, National Tourism Agency, to employ some of our cronies and our friends, our partisans, right? So that money could be used to actually clean up the country, make it attractive, so that foreigners will be attracted. When you have a good product, Mr. King and Madam Kim, you do not have to spend a lot of money on advertising that good product. The product will advertise itself. Seeing is believing. So instead of spending money on an elaborate campaign to sell the country to the world so that we can position it as one of the main destination for tourists and investors, why don't we use the money and develop the country. Start small. Start cleaning the place up.
The
Start with
individual,
sanitation.
the
Yeah.
person who's responsible for
Mhm.
that now, when they hear this statement that the place is dirty, oh, they'll come up and say, "Oh, it's not dirty. Why you want to discredit?" No, you see, when someone, when when I'm in charge of a place and someone tells me something is wrong, instead of me getting upset with the person, I say, "Quick, show me the areas quickly, so I can see about it." They're all trying to protect themselves from not doing nothing. That's one of the aspects is there. It's a minor one, but in order for them to get the road the started, they got to first admit and accept the fact that the place is dirty and
Yeah.
want to do something about it.
Yeah.
Mr. King, what do you say about that?
No, you're not going to attract investors if this environment is not conducive.
There you go.
It's a simple thing. So if you
Simple.
take the time cleaning up the place and developing skilled workers, investors will be open to sit down and have a discussion with you. And I didn't realize that Liberians were so thin-skinned
Yes.
until the other day. Somebody put on the internet a comedian who's a Liberian, and he was joking about Liberia and saying that he was a nepo baby
Oh,
of
I
a
know what you're
third
talking.
tier.
Yes, and they took it out of context. I know
Yes,
what you're talking. That's the grandson of Madam, our former president, Madam Sirleaf, and it was taken out of context. Yeah,
but there's nothing the young man said that wasn't true.
he didn't say anything wrong. They
He did
took him
not.
out of context. Yeah.
Oh, you can't. And the second thing is, not only did he not say anything that wasn't true, the second thing, he's a comedian.
He's a comedian.
Every comedian I know, they either disparage their country, their head of state, their wives, their children. Nobody is off bound. Their mother, their father, everybody. That's how they make their living.
Yeah, and he was roasting. He was roasting his own grandma.
Yes.
He was saying, "Oh, people think I'm nepo baby, but I'm like the lowest tier because the country that my grandmother was president for is one of the poorest," and that's the truth. That's a true statement, and people got so offended. And that's when you see their outrage, but they are not outrageous. They're not angry when they see the place is not being properly tended to. The city, when the city is so dirty, they're not offended by that. They're not offended by the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
That we see in the country. They're not offended by those things. But when somebody say it for what it is, then every Liberian becomes so patriotic now. They want to tear that person down. And I've been seeing the outrage on social media, and myself have been just wondering, but what is going on? What did that young man say to infuriate these people?
To infuriate, they're ready to ask for his head on the silver platter.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
And the person that they should ask for the head on the silver, they don't ask.
Yeah.
They don't ask. They leave that one
honorable. They call him honorable.
That one to be correct.
Yeah.
And they take somebody else on a situation like this. That's Liberia.
And a person who truly, what happens in Liberia does not affect his daily life.
No, not at all.
He could care less about anything, and tomorrow he will start making new jokes about new situation and new thing, and that too shall pass. Yeah. So put your energy where it needs to go. And that energy needs to go to rebuilding Liberia and focusing, like you said. Yes, you want to have people around you who believe in your cause, and that's good. But you also want people who will push back. And then you want people who the political system in Liberia is technically no, I wouldn't say no interest, but they're not invested in it because they're not going to Liberia to run for a position. That the investment that some of us have is in Liberia, not no political party. That's a difference. The investment is in the country in which we believed in, the country that of our motherland.
Mm-hmm.
We're not interested in the political party. We're not interested in running for any kind of office. So, like you said, collaboration. You're not going to work every day. And we collaborate with different departments. We collaborate with even people we can't stand.
Oh yes,
Because,
I'll tell you, I have to do that every day.
because that project needs to be done. And
Yeah.
that project needs to be done through collaboration because 3 or 4 departments have to work to the success of that project. And we need to think about Liberia as a project. And again, y'all can come for me, I don't care. We need to think of Liberia as a project.
Project, yes.
This is a project that we need to work and put effort to. I give you an example. When they had the diaspora conference, the UNDP guy got up and he talked about how they're going to build a new master's program in AI at the University of Liberia. I was so angry I could bust.
We're going all the way to the top now when we haven't taken care of the bottom ones yet.
But not only that, there is no university in America that has developed an AI master's program or undergraduate program. Most of those programs ran through the computer science department.
Certificates, right?
Right now, as you and I go to bed tonight, tomorrow, when we wake up, there will be 6 or 7 changes to the different platform and chat box. The thing is moving so fast that you need certificate programs, and those certificate programs must give people the basic so that they can then go and learn more. I'm telling you, YouTube is the best university. You can learn anything and everything. People are just there sharing the information. You don't need no master's program. I said that to say that we need to tell the United Nations and everybody else to stop giving us what they think we need and let them know what we need. That is what we need to do. Stop giving us what you think we knew. He even admitted he wasn't well versed in AI. So I sent him an email. They called me, we spoke once. I have not heard from them again. I don't want nobody job. I got enough on my plate, as I said. Also, simple. Right now, you go on YouTube. See how many young Nigerian people on there monetizing YouTube, Facebook, using every platform with AI, making money.
Yes.
And our Liberian youth are sitting there demonstrating every month on nothing. On nothing. You go there, you see from the other young people from Africa who are teaching people how to use AI, making money, making content, rich content on AI. In AI now, in most of the platforms now, they even have a voice, an AI voice that sounds like a Nigerian. That people can make short films in Nigerian pidgin English.
Mm-hmm.
It's because the people are not stupid. They
Yeah.
see how many Nigerian youth are using AI and around. So that is pure capitalism and pure economics. These
Yeah.
people use our platform, so therefore, to get them to use it more, we're gonna cater to them.
Yeah, even the BBC has a pidgin language program. Even in a print and program, how you call it thing program, they do print in they print their news in pidgin. Yes, Nigerian pidgin.
Yes,
Yeah,
you see, and
because they
that's
see
the
a
thing.
demand for it. Yeah.
Yes, there's a demand for it. So you're gonna take time. First of all, somebody should tell me the people who are graduating from University of Liberia in computer science if they do anything. I mean, are they employed? Where are
Are they
they?
are they, are they writing programs? Are they
Yes,
coding? Are they?
but yes, the joke. My husband knows. I don't know how to code, but I've built apps because of vibe coding or AI. I can talk to Gemini. I can talk to Claude. I can talk to ChatGTP, and I can build a simple app without coding. And guess what? The AI itself goes back into my app and it tests it for me. It tells me when there's an error. So why do you what you should be doing is getting the Liberian youth up on AI and see how can we use these young people to go to this ministry and optimize and go in there and automate the
Automate
system.
and make some of our processes seamless.
Simple,
Yeah,
seamless.
Mhm.
That's what you should be doing.
Especially our tax collection system. Then we can
Yes,
we can minimize, the workforce and reinvest the extra money in something important.
yes.
Yeah,
That's what you should do. Then for someone to sit in a classroom for 2 years, getting a useless master's program,
a useless one.
a useless degree, that by the time that 2 year is up, the AI the learning will be able to born its own baby and send it to Liberia to run Liberia.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the things that upsets me. Because all we do is get money that is wasted. Wasted.
Yeah. We're just wasting the money. And I was comparing Liberia to Ghana because our previous episode was about we're looking at this whole concept of trying to attract tourists to the country, with the new tourism bureau. And I was talking about some of the assets that we have. Look at our own man, Richelieu Dennis, who is very successful here in the US. The founder of Shea Butter Hair Products and Sundial. Buried it now, he controls he's like the custodian of the African American heritage or culture because he purchased Ebony and Essence magazine. And Essence magazine, what role it plays in Black America social commentary and the entire culture, right? So he chose Ghana, for his annual his Essence festival over Liberia. This is a Liberian man. That's something that we're supposed to sit and wonder. And some people will say, "Oh, but this guy is not patriotic." No, he's a businessman.
Yes.
Yeah, the market has to be feasible for him in order for him to invest his money in that market. If it is not feasible, it's just a business decision. So he looks at Ghana. The people are serious. And when I was doing a comparative analysis of the Ghanaian budget and our budget, and oh my, that's when I know that we're not serious. Because usually I will compare Liberia to maybe France or the US. But this time I was like, okay, let's go to Ghana. Ghana is a country that we used to be ahead of in terms of development. But look at where they are now. Why can't we use Ghana as a model? Why can't we study these people? Look at the people national budget. They're having things in there. They're allocating money for youth empowerment, for women empowerment,
Yeah.
for school feeding, to feed the children. If the kids are going to school hungry, they're
Mhm.
not going to learn anything. They are not going to learn anything. Ghana is talking about free food feeding, free food program, free schools. They are investing in infrastructure, in a security sector. You see it on paper. It looks legit. But what are we doing? We're arguing how much the officials, gonna get. They're trying to increase their salaries. That all of the money just go towards their perks and their fancy cars and gas. And the whole budget, you look at it, you don't even have 30% going towards capital projects or long-term developmental initiatives, or even some of these simple ideas we're talking about, trade programs.
Or
Yeah.
medical training, medical school.
Yeah, practical skills, the things that build a nation. I like to give simple examples, right? Do you know that in Liberia we import furniture, but we have some of the finest wood? We have teak, we have mahogany, and those are trees that in other countries, like I was in India, I saw a whole reforestation project on teak and mahogany, teak specifically. They're even trying to conserve it because it's so important. It can be used for a whole lot of different things,
Yes.
right? But we are just exporting even our trees. They got those logging companies just taking it. Why can't we train our carpenters to add value? The same furniture that we're importing from Turkey and China and other places, we can make those same furnitures right in Liberia. And I'll tell you this, we do have very talented people in Liberia.
Of
Very,
course.
yeah, craftsmen. Like, we can train those people, give them the necessary tools and machines and equipment to add value to our furniture. We don't have to be exporting our wood, our trees.
You know, the I remember growing up, when you wanted your master bedroom furniture, you went to Jensen. Jensen had Liberian craftsmen building furniture
Yes.
there. You and there's this young lady who left England and went to Nigeria and opened a furniture store, and people send furniture from Europe to her to refurbish
Okay.
because craftsmanship is so high there,
Yes.
and they can get it at a good cost.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much in Liberia that we can be investing in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Instead of waiting for China, instead
and
of
may I
waiting for
add,
China to come and give us handout and build us some kind of airport that doesn't even look like it's not even like international standard.
and
Like, yes,
and
go on.
and, and may I add also to may I add also um, it escaped me. You mentioned something about the
We're talking about craftsmanship.
Yeah,
yes.
adding value to local resources instead of
Carry
exporting
on.
the
It will
raw
it will
raw
come back.
material.
It will come back to me. It will come back. But
Mhm.
it was something on the it was on the craftsmanship that they used to have in Liberia. And yes, this is what most Liberian, from what I observe, they have no idea what Liberia used to make before.
Mhm.
And my feeling about this is this: if the politicians and those in Liberia now should begin to show that we made soap, that we made paint, that we exported coffee, that we did a lot of things in Liberia before the war. It's not nothing new what they're doing here now. We did those things before the war. That means it means we had talented people. So we
We do.
did these things before the war. But as Mrs. King said, and as most others say, the war destroyed. It broke down the entire country. It moved people who had businesses. Parker Paint Factory was exporting paint. We used to buy paint for our homes. In Liberia, government used to buy paint. Oh, well, you're giving Clarence Parker a paint factory all the money. But the man's a businessman. The government gonna spend money either for him or somebody else. What's
Yeah,
the
and that,
difference? But
And
it
he
rather,
employed, you see,
yes, he
he
employed.
employed Liberians.
Yes, that's
So
it.
you circulate the money. You
That's right.
forget about whatever category you want, country, Congo, whatever.
Yeah,
It
mhm.
was a business that employed people. I
yeah,
guarantee Packer Pin had anywhere from 50 to 100 people working there.
yes. Yeah, delivery people are.
And I don't think Liberians even import. I don't even think Liberia imported paint because they made all the paint that was necessary. But you also, this is what we fail to recognize. When you have a Liberian producing a product in Liberia, and if that person is a true business person, what they do is you know your environment. You study your environment. So therefore, you know the kind of paint that will work well in Liberia, given the humidity, the heat, giving everything, as opposed to a paint that you import.
Mhm.
From Europe that is made for a different climate.
Amen.
And that's why some of the paint are peeling off the wall.
Exactly.
Because most of the homes here are the walls are made of different materials.
Yes.
As compared to what we have as in Liberia, we have concrete. So the
Cinder blocks.
materials may not be the same.
So
Yeah,
when you want to think about who, even if you have to go outside the country, who do I collaborate with, or who do I get? You don't go to a man who built houses using wood. You go to a man who used cinder blocks to build houses, because he's better able to. You and him better able to talk about foundation, how the structure's supposed to be, whatever it's supposed to be. But we need to also stop just asking for money. Some people don't have the money to give up, but they have the manpower, the education, they have to give us. So if you go to somebody and they say, look, we don't have the money to give you, but we can give you 10 people who can train 100 people. Take it.
Take it.
Take it and let that person come in. Look at Rwanda. Rwanda went through all of that genocide and everything else. Look where Rwanda is.
Serious-minded people.
It were people who were willing to make the sacrifice and put their differences aside and move to rebuild their country. And even the people who were most affected were able to say, we need to rebuild. We need to rebuild. We need to rebuild to the best of our capacity. And that's what we as Liberians need to do. Or else, how many years have been now? 30 years? 40 years?
More than 45 since the war,
Since the war, and we learned that the war just happened yesterday.
Yeah, we're still recovering.
We're still recovering. When will we stop recovering?
Yes.
Mr. Sago, do you have any questions coming in?
I think this topic is important, so we just dedicated to this employment thing, that the vice president, complained about, and it's very important. It has a lot of areas to touch, a lot of areas. So I think we if you want to talk on maybe the criminal cases, let's look at the one involving the deputy minister of youth and sports. He was exonerated. I don't know if you followed. What was your take on that?
The police have indicated that they use DNA evidence, and they contacted their international partners. Now, I just want to know, they did not inform, they did not list or mention who their international partners were who did the
Reference.
DNA, because not all DNA centers may be accurate.
Yeah.
So again, the information, I mean, even the Department of Immigration, yeah, they don't just use any DNA service. They use a particular service. So in the police comment about the
Hmm.
fact that the DNA cleared the particular suspect, the what is the organization? What is the DNA organization? Where are they located? What's their success rate? What's their reputation in the community? In
Reputation.
the
Yeah.
international arena on this type of information, evidence that was necessary. And
Mm.
without knowing anything else about the investigative uh, steps that it took, all I'm saying to you is that when you are investigating a rape case of any type,
Hmm.
you have to understand that it's a serious issue, which I know they do understand that. But evidence, anytime you have a evidence need for evidence, evidence transfers from one victim, from one person to the other, and back and forth. Every time and any time there's a association connection with one person, evidence is transferred back and forth. I'm just hoping that they did a thorough investigation with the proper identification and collection and preservation of the evidence, which is a scientific process.
Hmm.
You see, and that this DNA that they have found, or that they didn't find, or that they have now, you have to also um, make sure that you can obtain such evidence in other type of cases that you may be able to connect one case incident with another to help to find the perpetrator of a particular rape case.
Yeah.
So
So I
there's
think
so many evidence.
everything looks kind of vague because,
Well,
like you're saying, that there's no transparency here. We don't even know which country their partners came from, who are the experts. You know,
yes.
we just say, oh, we did this and this guy was fine. We access CCTV, footages, and I don't know how well connected Liberia is with CCTV
Well,
cameras.
even with the CCTV cameras, you have certain type of cameras that record and keep.
Uh-huh. To a
They
server.
record
Mm-hmm.
and keep for a certain length of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make sure that if you take that, and I'm assuming that they probably did, I hope they did, that when you obtain the CCTV footage, that you have a date and time stamp, and that they follow that date and time stamp, and it wasn't altered. You see, so all of those things come into play during an investigation. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
only going to stop there because I've already mentioned, since the person, uh, this case can still come up again.
Yeah, that's what they
Because if
said.
new evidence comes up, it can
Mhm.
still be brought up. Now, also, one has to be very cautious in obtaining the evidence and when and how evidence is obtained. Someone, as we go to the next one, which you will bring up, I will make a comment about that. But as for
Yeah.
this particular case, that's all I have to say for now.
Yeah, and then they also said that the DNA evidence or specimen they collected from the crime scene matches somebody else, but they're still trying to locate that person. So that's another phase of their
That's why I
investigation.
said I want to stop because I know there's something else
Yeah, so
I
I
have
don't
to
know
follow.
how what's your take on that?
Well, it's natural. If a child was raped, the
Mm-hmm.
case is still open. You have to, the case is ongoing. You have to investigate and continue. That's why I mentioned that you must make sure you keep that DNA so that you will be able to collect DNA from other sources as well to
Yeah.
compare with that. You see, it's not just one case, the DNA. So that will be compared. So yes, they should be looking and getting DNA for all the people who work in that building at that particular time. Again,
Yes.
again, the investigative process will go into who had access to the building, Has this young girl ever been to the building before? What time she was there in the past? Who she went to see in the past? How long she stayed in the past? All of those are type of investigative procedures that take place. Okay,
Mhm.
so since they're still looking, that's why I said I don't want to say anything else on this particular matter right
Yeah.
now, unless
Mr.
something else
King,
comes
Mr.
up.
King, you have to come. You have to come.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
yes. All right. Yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
not seeing you. We want to make sure we're seeing you, Mr.
Oh
King.
yes, yes. So
All right.
that's what I'm saying with regard to that. But investigation continues, and
Yes.
if they collected the DNA, it's important also again. How did they go? Where did they go to investigate to collect evidence? Did they ever go to get a search warrant to search the person's home, to search the person's clothing, all kinds of things? How long in between the DNA and evidence was preserved? How was it preserved? The collection, as I said, identification, collection, and preservation of evidence is key in getting a proper diagnostic or a proper evaluation and result of a DNA evidence. You see,
Okay.
comparison.
So what about
Collection, identification, and preservation.
okay? So what about the case involving this man? Oh, that's the wrong guy. This man.
Yes.
This new this guy who allegedly sodomized a 15-year-old boy and also involved engaged in gang rape with two other unidentified individuals. This one, according to the police director, he has been taken into custody pending further investigation. Uh, I don't know if you can comment while they're still investigating, or just share some general information on the whole process.
Well, again, an investigation such as this would take
Mhm.
place where the initial complaint comes in. At the same time, you also have to make sure that the information you get in is verified. Verified in terms of what exactly happened, what steps took place. You have to interview the person, the child that is involved, ask him questions to make sure who else brought the information in, what type of collaboration between the person and the child that was raped, or other type of information, whether there's any animosity between one family and another family. All of that comes into play because you are going to arrest someone and their reputation is involved. So, what steps the police have taken, that's what they would have taken to obtain the necessary information. And once they find uh, 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 some sort of probable cause to have him arrested, then you go ahead and arrest him. But remember, you only have 48 hours to keep that person in detention without formally charging them. That's in the law in Liberia. So you don't just keep him and wait until you find what he did wrong. You have to make sure you have the necessary evidence. So no doubt they have found the necessary evidence to keep him or to charge him. And now comes the big task, which would be presenting the evidence in a court of law. And from what I'm looking at, most of the things that takes place, uh, the evidence issue seems to be a problem. The evidence seems to be a problem. And you can't go into court and just say what someone else says. You have to connect the two. You have to connect the person to the crime scene and the person involved. So you have to collect again DNA evidence from the person to have it compared and analyzed. So that's what if that's what they've done, that's fine. But you know, you're dealing with someone's reputation, and it is important that you look at the evidence. As I said, look at the fire issue case. Where's the evidence? Everyone said that they had evidence. I followed up through myself once, and I was told they had evidence. Where's the evidence? There's a question there. This case again, what's going to happen? It's the collection of the evidence, identification and collection of the evidence that is important. Where are you going to uh, conduct a search? Do you have a proper search warrant to search the person's clothing? Things like that. The cell phone shows him in a particular location at a certain time. Fine. but he can be at a certain location at a certain time and not be involved in that particular era. But the general era is what is being informed. It doesn't say specifically he was on block C at such and such a time, does it? These are questions that have to be answered. I can't hear you. You're off.
Oh, sorry. My mic was mute. So I also learned that the police decision was backed or supported by the forensic,
Good.
evidence.
Good.
Yes. So
Good.
that one, yeah. But I also want to look at, we were talking about job creation. We're talking about the economics. Let's look at the economics. Factor affecting or leading to some of these things, because the story goes that this young man is a neighbor to the alleged perpetrator, and he struggles, with buying shoes. And this guy will often give him favors, give him handouts. And this day he needed soccer apparel, like football boots. And this guy told him, "Come on, let's go to purchase boots." Yeah. So let's look at the economics and also the education part, Mrs. King. What can you say to parents? How can you, help parents safeguard their children, from such predators, even
But
when, yeah, yeah,
that's before she goes into that one. The
mm-hmm,
explanation that you've given,
mm-hmm,
what I heard from him
mm-hmm.
is different from what you've mentioned.
What
He
did you
stated,
hear?
he
Mm-hmm,
stated that this young man, it was the friend or the wife, the mother, another person who he helped with football boots of some sort.
mm-hmm.
And that's what I heard. And it did not connect with this particular victim.
Maybe that's another
And he
story.
was explaining that on the news. So because of that conflicting information there, I won't be able to comment on it.
Okay,
I won't be able to comment because there's conflicting information what he's saying and what the parents are saying and other friends and people are saying. So I can't comment on that.
okay, granted. Yeah, from a legal point of view, criminal
But
justice, law
from a
enforcement.
professional, I
Yeah,
can't
but
comment.
from a social point of view, Mrs. King, like, what can our families do to safeguard, to protect their children from such how you call the thing, incidents?
Well, I'm not a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm speaking from just my background, because I do have a master's in culture and social relationships. So some of this is what we're talking about. In Africa, in a lot of, again, for a lack of a better word, developing countries, women and children are always the most vulnerable. Women and children are always the poorest. And but we also see it in, quote unquote, the developing world, where women gets the back end, always holding the bag. If a woman in America gets divorced, unless she can afford a good lawyer, most times she's not most times, a lot of times you left broke, in debt, and needing to start over. So we as a society, we need to protect our women and children more. As I said to you, Liberia is a patriotic country, and we still run on the premise that them again, Liberians need to put aside all your culture norms and everything and listen as an intellectual debate, intellectual discussion. We still run on the premise that the man should be the breadwinner. And we go back to the fact that given the war, there are too many households in Liberia without quote unquote a man. Where women, and even when there's a male, he may not have a job, which then creates a whole different scenario. When it comes to talking about social norms and what constitutes a man and what makes a man. But when you have, again, I don't know this family and I don't know the situation. So I'm talking generally.
Generally.
When you have a situation where this young man is struggling, he may not have parents, I don't know. He may only have one parent. Again, I don't know. I don't know his situation. But at 14 or 15, you have to ask yourself why he needs to go to his neighbor to get shoes. What is his family structure like? Can his mother not afford it? Well, we'll come back.
Most likely. Most likely, yes.
Yes. We come back to the employment.
Yes. The economics. Yeah.
The economics. Maybe if she could afford to take care of her family financially, her son wouldn't need to do that. But also, maybe we had a youth program where kids 16, between the age of 16 and 18, during the summertime, they could work cleaning the streets of Monrovia, earning income. They could buy everything they need to get themselves ready to go to school come August. They can buy their own shoes, their own clothes, to have with a uniform, all of that. Because we know in America, by the time you reach 16, you are able to at least get a summer job.
In some states, 15.
Yes.
I see kids as young as 14, 15 working here.
Yeah, flipping burgers in McDonald's. Or,
McDonald's.
Or cleaning people's yards.
Yes.
And shoveling snow during the winter time to earn their money.
Yeah.
It comes back to those things. Youth, through the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I'm sick and tired of youth and sports just concentrating on the football. I remember back when the Ministry of Youth and Sports used to have vacation jobs for the kids during vacation time. At that time, we went to school between January and December. By the time school closed, they had jobs that people could work until we went back to school in March or wherever. It's been so long now. I shouldn't age myself, but it's been so long I can't quite remember. But we went to school during the calendar.
It was just a few years ago.
Yeah. We went to school during the calendar year, not like they do now. I think they go August to July or something like that. But those are the things we're talking about. We need to make economics viable for every Liberian. This thing about the man being the head of the household, fine, culturally, but economically, you hindered your people when you think like that. You hinder progress when you think like that. I don't care. It's not my business to understand what goes on in your home. You and your wife need to sort out your status in life and who man, who woman, who where the pay, who where. That's not my problem. In your house, that's your problem. You sort that out. I'm thinking about how I can move a society forward, and that means both the male and the female must earn equally.
Amen.
And earn equally. That is my concern, the moving of a society. Y'all can sort your nonsense about who the man who deserves respect. Y'all can sort that one out in your house. That's not the issue here. The issue here is we must move our society, and we must remove the situation where where women and children are so vulnerable. And this is not new. This is not new. This has always happened in our society where a certain population of women were vulnerable because they needed that help to be able to progress, to feed the family, to feed themselves, and people took advantage of it.
Yes.
So let's not say, oh, and nothing, and I don't want to hear it. It's part of the culture. It's not part of no culture to demean people, to take advantage of people, and to abuse people. That's not part of any culture. We need to do better. And that means do not, I mean, the young man, again, I don't know the story, but if the story is that's what happened, he was vulnerable not to, nor am I saying what happened. But somebody is guilty because again, I don't know. I'm not an investigator and I don't know the premise. I am talking strictly from a from a social point of view, from sociology, and from what has happened over throughout Liberia history of women and children. I mean, I know how the times when people, men and women, stay in bad relationships and bad marriages because they either couldn't afford to leave or they felt they were not going to have access to their children. So all of those things, economics play a part in it. The economics of the situation.
Yes.
And so we need more jobs in Liberia. We need to move our youth and our people forward. There's so much you can be done. Look at the roads in Liberia. But come on now. Some of those roads are impassable. Go and train people to be able to fix the roads in Liberia. The infrastructure, everything needs work in Liberia. While we're sitting here talking about, oh, we still on our agenda and nah, 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 nah. Action. Action. And maybe if you busy the youth of Liberia, they will find something else to do with their time. They every day protesting, every day. Now, hey, look, I believe in protest. I believe in the voice of the people. But I also feel like sometimes people do it because they got nothing better to do. And so if maybe we, again, transparency is something that we don't seem to have very much of in Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
If we are transparent with our people and we explain things, we explain everything where people understand. We actually acknowledge that there are some people in our society who doesn't know when to use WEN and when to use WENT, or when to use I and when to use ARE because they don't have the foundation. So therefore, we need to explain it. Come on the radio. Simple thing. Come on the radio, come on the TV and explain in pidgin English to the people what it is that you're doing, why you need to do it. So that they understand, and there may be some of this tension. We can prevent it, but also we take away the power of the so-called opposition. Then they don't come with their own narrative trying to explain things because we didn't do the job of explaining it right. My husband always say that. He like, why can't they just go out there and say what needs to be said? But we don't. So John Brown comes and he twists it the way he want to twist it, and his followers believe him, and then that's a whole other thing going on.
Yes. Yeah, and like one of my good friend always say, do not complicate what is simple and do not try to simplify what is complicated. So the problems that Liberia have, is complex, but hey, we cannot build Rome in one night. We can start building this beautiful castle of Liberia, this beautiful shining city that we envision on a hill, one brick at a time, one fine brick at a time, one trade school at a time. Empower one young person, one young carpenter at a time. Start cleaning. Empower the youth through vacation job programs where they can clean the city. So that's how we are going to build Liberia instead of expanding the government, building and creating more new bureaucratic, agencies to employ our friends and giving us a lot of complicated language. We need to simplify this thing. So, as we come to the end of our show today, Mr. King, you wanna say something?
You
I,
haven't mentioned anything about the sports?
yeah, I was gonna come back, but please continue. Yeah, yeah,
No, no, no.
please.
I'm finished.
All right.
I'm all right.
You don't have any more? Okay. So as we come to the end of this important discussion today, I want to let me give you the benefit of the doubt, Mr. King. Mr. King, any closing argument? Any parting comments?
Well, no. I like the fact that uh,
Mhm.
Mrs. King was uh, introduced into your panel, and I'm sure
Yes.
that she will agree with me when
Hmm.
I told Mr. Sako that we will get Ms. Carl Famule together with you on some issues that he will bring up in the future. And
Yes.
I'm sure Mrs. King agrees because she and Miss Carl Famule shares. You've heard Mrs. King right now, but Miss Carl Famule, she's another one that's gonna hit you hard.
Yeah, that's
She's
a
another
lot to
one
learn. Yeah.
that, but
King. Yeah.
in short, uh, the job issue is a big problem because, again, as Mrs. King mentioned, the economics of it, economics, school fees, clothing, food, general self-respect. That is important. And the Department of the Ministry of Labor should begin their own re-evaluation of finding the type of jobs in Liberia that exist. Now, I worked in that era of employment services in United States, and I know what we do as a state government, going out and finding jobs that exist in different companies and organizations. So that's what Liberia Minister of Labor should look into. And I've written many comments in the newspaper, more or less inviting them to make contact with me. But of course, they don't read it. So uh, perhaps it's wasting what just a lost cause. But they can do something. And remember, I've worked in Liberia, I had a business in Liberia, and I worked with the Ministry of Labor before. So it's not strange to me. I know what's happening. I know what can be improved upon. So the job situation is very important for everybody, for the youth to start responsibility, what it is to wake up and go to work, what it is to be honest at work and do an honest day work. Go and do an honest day work. And also, if you're working in whatever organization or government ministry, you're working for the people. That's how a colleague and I end our day. We say, Mr. King, have we worked for the people today? I say, yes, we work for the people because that's what we're there for, working for the people. And that's how I've lived my life in Liberia as well, working for the people.
Working
So
for the
that's all I
people.
have to say in closing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We must work for the people. And we must put the people's interests above our personal interests. Thank you very much, Mr. King. Mrs. King, any final thoughts?
I just want to summarize what we talked about. That the government needs to concentrate on infrastructure, education. We know how the literacy rate is so high, and what they can do, which plays into the unemployment. Infrastructure also plays into employment by employing people to take care of the Liberia environment. Technical education, employ more healthcare workers, not, including doctors, but people who can, I won't say substitute, but who can assist and support that public works, the roads, construction, all of that. And hopefully if we can get that going, maybe we'll get more private sector and of course entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA.
Okay, as we come to the end of today's discussion, I want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to our incredible panelists, Mr. and Mrs. King. Your insights and diverse perspectives have truly enriched our conversation and provided invaluable information to our audience. Thank you for sharing your expertise, experiences, and passion on a subject we've tackled today. Your ability to engage thoughtfully with each other continues to set the gold standard for debate and public discourse. And we are so grateful for your contributions.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Welcome to 1847 Liberty. We stream live from Minnesota, USA.
Before we wrap up today, uh, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture of what this show is all about. Imagine a Liberia where citizens are empowered with adequate information and resources to thoroughly evaluate their leaders, demand transparency, and hold public officials accountable for their actions. Also, imagine a society where young people eagerly use various creative communication tools to transform their anger and frustrations into constructive dialogue and inspiring works of art. That's the Liberia we envision. And to achieve this significant undertaking, we look forward to partnering with you, our followers and supporters, Liberians from all walks of life and in every corner of the globe. I will see you next time. But until we meet again, please take good care of yourselves and remember to be kind to everyone around you.